GMGM guys, in today's video we're going to be talking about how you can deploy a to-do list app on Solana. So yeah, for this video we're going to be using this repository, right? So this is like just the plain UI, right? So what we want to do is to copy the link from here and like post it in our, like, clone it to our machine, right, locally. But by the end of this video, what we'll build should look like this, right? This floating action button here, and then this UI. So the UI is already pre-done. We just need to like work on the service to like how I've been doing in the previous video. So let's just get started. What we want to do is to open a repository, to open a terminal rather, right? um so we can clone it here, right? Then we'll command navigate into the folder and then open VS Code there. So if you have been following with the previous videos, by now you should already have your wallet.json file, right? So I'm going to paste my wallet.json file into this this folder, the lib. Make sure it's in the lib, right? Then I want to do that pub get so that I can get the dependencies, right? If you check the pub spec YAML, you're going to see you're going to see that we're going to be using these packages, right? Okay, so now I'm just going to fix the comma trailing issue with my wallet JSON and then I'll continue the video. Yeah, so I just removed the extra comma from my wallet JSON file, right? So yeah, next thing we'll usually do is to put up our emulator so like we can see what we're doing in real time, right? So that's like what we have always been known to do, right? So yeah, now I would want to partition my screen so you guys can see what I'm doing and the code at the design at the same time. So the next thing I want to do is to run the code because as it is, there are no errors in it. The only thing is that the service file has not been implemented. Right? It's just a bunch of unimplemented errors, return return null and stuff, right? So let's just get straight into it. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to interact with a to-do list, right? So this to-do list has been deployed on the Solana blockchain, right? Mainnet DevNet, sorry, Solana DevNet. Also know that if you create a wallet, you'd have to, let me delete this real quick. Yeah, so if you create a wallet, you would have to um get some DevNet tokens from the faucet, right? So you look for faucet.solana.com and get some DevNet tokens, right? Or testnet tokens, whatever cluster you're working on. But in this program, we're working on DevNet, as you can see, specified in our RPC URL and WebSocket URL. But truly, we're only using RPC URL because like we're not doing anything related to WebSockets here. But yeah, we're going to specify it as usual. So one thing you should know is since you are going to be interacting with a Solana program, you have to like already deploy your program on chain, right? That means you have to write trust. Now, in this video, it's not necessary to write trust, right? Because what are we looking at? We're looking at Flutter on Solana, so we're not looking at UI. We're not looking at That's why the UI is even pre-built. Like we're not learning how to write Flutter here. We're just learning how to use Flutter on Solana, right? Now we're just doing it the manual way. We're just using a Solana client to interact with Anchor programs. I mean, it's very relatable, but to do it, you have to like write a lot of custom code, right? But if you're doing this in TypeScript, it will just be like generating a wallet, like just a few lines of code, maybe 5 lines of code, right? Because they have an Anchor client with TypeScript, but we can't do that currently with that because we don't have an active Anchor client, right? At least I've not seen of, right, by the time I'm making this video. So probably when you guys are watching, it's probably going to be a newer way to do it. By then, maybe I will make another video, right? Because I think I'm working on something similar, but I'm not going to share any alphas. Um, Yeah, so since we're interacting with a Solana program, right, we have to make sure that there is an actual program that has been deployed on chain. Think of it like deploying your backend and then interacting with that backend using the API key, sorry, the URL to that backend, the base URL. If you interact with backend, maybe REST APIs, maybe if you interact with REST APIs using a base URL, you know what I'm talking about. So for backends, it is REST API. I mean, it is base URL. But for Solana programs, I already said this in the previous video. It is your program ID, and for us, this is our program ID, right? So since we're not going to be talking about how to build Rust programs or Solana programs, what we're just going to do is to copy this, go to our browser, look for SoulPG, better.soulpg.io. That's an online Solana programs editor. You can write native Solana code, you can write Anchor, and you can write, I think they used to have Seahorse for Python to build Solana programs with Python. And I think now they have Pinocchio. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but I know I use this because also I have space issues on my PC. So yeah, that's just it. So what you're going to do is you're going to create a new project, right? And then for me, I've created my project to do. The next video is going to be a counter. No, the next video is a poll app, right? But yeah, you're going to want to copy whatever is here. This is going to be an Hello World program, but for us, this is the same code that is here, right? This code is entirely open source. I did not write it. I just looked on GitHub and looked at somebody's to-do list, right? This thing was implemented in React Native, right? I don't know if, yeah, this is the guy's repo, right? He did it with React Native. This is lib.rs. Did it with React Native. I just copied the code, looked at it, and say, oh, this is good to go. Let's just work on it, right? So you're going to paste it here. After you paste it, just like we spoke about in the last video, you're going to try to build it. But make sure that you have connected your wallet first, because your wallet is like your identity. That's like you signing in. And make sure you are building it on DevNet, right? And you have faucet tokens. If you look at here now, I have like eight soul worth of tokens, right? I mean, it is worthless because it's on DevNet, right? So, but like we just use it to test and make sure that our app works. Then we can now build on um minutes after, right? So this is just for people that are not familiar with what Solana programs are, right? So we're going to click on build. Now, build is just compiling your program, right? Just like when you do Flutter build, but you're not actually you're not running it, you're just doing Flutter build, right? And you're not deploying your app. I don't know if that makes sense, but there's build, Flutter build, and there's Flutter run. So if that makes sense to you, just it's not exactly on parity, but like just take it like that, right? So when you build it, then if it compiles without errors, then you know that, oh, you can deploy it. Yeah, so when you deploy it, you're going to see that this same string over here at the top is the same thing with your program ID. As I have said, it's just an identifier for your exact program on the Solana blockchain, right? So you can copy it because we are going to be using it in our code, right? Obviously, to know the exact program on chain we are talking to, we're going to need the program ID. Another thing you're going to need is your IDL. Now, your IDL is a JSON file, right? For us, if you use this program, you don't need to export your IDL from here, right? All you just need is um your program ID, right? It's just your program ID that you will need. But at the same time, you can also use my own to-do list, but this is just how they process it. So you are going to export your IDL. Now it is from those IDL is basically internet um well, let me just check what that is real quick. Interface definition language. Yeah, exactly. So it is basically right. It's just a a think of it as an interface. If you're an object oriented developer, you should know what an interface is, right? It's just something that is a JSON file that defines what you can do with the Solana program. Think of it like your postman, right? When you go to your postman documentation, it's just basically like your postman documentation. It shows you all REST URLs where you can all the endpoints you can fetch, post, whatever you can do, you can get it from your Postman documentation. Just that's what just like IDL is, right? So the name of the program, clever to do, version, and then the constants, right? In this one we have the user tag and then the to do tag. Now we're going to get to know what that means later, right? We're going to get to know why there's a user tag and why there is a to do tag later in the video as well, as we're trying to interact with it. So now we have instructions like initialize user, we have instructions like add to do, you should know what that does, mark to do, right? Then remove to do, mark to do probably as I've done the to do, right? So as you can see, these are like functions these are instructions basically, right? That the that the that the program can do on chain, right? Then you have your accounts, right? To do account and user profile, and then a bunch of errors. So yeah, we're going to need that. So but let's just go straight into what we want to do. So now we have hit ourselves with this block again, the user tag, exact same thing. If you look at this, let me just make sure it is right. So I think they are the same thing, right? I think they are the same thing. So um what is the user tag and what is the to do tag? Now it's just a way of us serializing data so that the Solana blockchain is going to understand that, oh, this is a user and this is the to do. We're using it for generating PDAs. Now you might not understand that, but I hope that as we program, I will get enough clarity to be able to explain it better. Right. So the first thing we would want to do, let's look for our let's look for our comments. Initialize a new wallet is the first thing we should do. Right. Yeah, so if you look at our UI, right, you see that the user can either choose to create a new wallet, right? This is like a better, instead of just what we have been doing previously. This is like a more enhanced like app, but it's not really production level ready, but it's test is side project level ready, right? So the user can create a new wallet, they can import from their seed phrase, right? Their mnemonic, that's 12 words, 12 English words, right? And then they can import from their private key, which we are going to be using, right? Because we already have like our private key over here, right? So um first thing we want to do is to create a new wallet, and obviously the way we can create a new wallet is by using the random function from key pair dot random, right? So that's pretty much us creating a new wallet. But if we're creating a new wallet here, we want the user to also have like tokens to be able to interact with the Solana blockchain. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to airdrop them, right? So what we'll do is we'll put a try catch. There is no actual need for a try catch. If you get an error, it handles it properly for us already. So I'll show you what that means in a minute. So if you watch the last video, you should know what commitment is for anything regarding a transaction signature or anything like that, anything landing on chain. Commitment is basically just a way of us to know as as to how many, let's say as to how many percent, right? As to how many percent a transaction has been confirmed, right? If it's finalized, then you know that, oh, the transaction is fully confirmed. But then if it's just confirmed, then you can say maybe 33% of validators have already confirmed to the transaction. So what we're doing here is we're trying to request for an airdrop. We've already done this in the first video, so I think I should not explain it more. Right, but that's pretty much it. Try to request for an airdrop. The next thing we want to do is to load the user's wallet, right? If they click on that. Right, so all we're just basically doing here is we're collecting, create and initialize the account, Solana wallet, blah blah blah, 12 word. So yeah, if you have used the Solana wallet before, you can see that when you try to create a new wallet, right, you can import your wallet with 12 English words. Those 12 English words now we're just basically doing the same functionality over here. All right. Let me see if that works. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's pretty much what we're doing. All right, so now I want to load from our own private key. Just if you're curious what we did here, we just like implemented the whole service functions for this whole screen. Right. So next thing we want to do is, okay, let's also do this, right? So it's like more robust. Right, but basically I think this our wallet type here is 32 bytes. So if we did not implement this and implemented this instead, it will still work, right? So yeah, so the mobile app stopped, but like let's continue working on it. So when we're done, we'll like try to run it again, right? Alright, so here we can probably not implement it because we're not breaking the code, but let's just do something more robust. Right, so we're going to throw an exception. As you can see, there's still a bunch of other functions that we still need to implement. Right, so but I think some of them are just small functions. But let's get into getting wallet address. Right, so to make the work look a lot smaller, I'm just going to be like closing all these functions, right? Because it's looking like we're going to write a lot. Yeah, but yeah, then get to do account PDA. What's this error? Right, that solves it, I guess. So I want to return result again. So my next thing is I want to initialize user. So that's what we do to initialize the user profile. So for now, I'm just going to disconnect this UI so we can like focus on the service because it's seriously lagging. You can for some reason, sure. Let me just disconnect it because I don't know why it was cutting off. So if you remember from the last, if you remember from the last last video, we spoke about something about discriminators. So it still applies, but this time we are trying to look at discriminators differently. We're trying to compute the discriminator. So if you look at this is like an util that helps us to like utility to that helps us to like compute the discriminator. Like all we just has to give it is a namespace which is constant, which is global, and then the name of the function, which has to be gotten from the IDL from each instruction. So this one now is initialize user, that will be initialize underscore user. Then user profile, that will be user underscore profile with small p. So yeah, that's what we're going to do for all of these files, all of these functions rather, till we are done with it. This is going to be a long one. Yeah, so what we're just printing out the discriminator as like a list of um just printing that as a list kind of basically. And although this is not necessary, but best just keep the convention together. So this one's now are the accounts that take part in initializing the user, right? So if you notice, we did something like this in the previous video, right? So just give me a bit. I'm going to go over it. It's very very interesting stuff. So this is just like we're creating an instruction, and that instruction we're packing. Oh, I already spoke about this in the last video, right? But we're putting the program ID, right? The discriminator. That is what points us to the instruction on the blockchain. Right, this one points us to the program itself. This one points us to the instruction on that program. And then this one talks about like the accounts that are trying to interact, that is to carry out that instruction. So this is for the public key, this is for the PDA of the user, right? And then this is for the system program. So the whole process of this is just trying to interact with the blockchain, because at the end of the day, anything you are doing on chain, right, has to be like you have to sign a transaction to do it. So this is the point where you send and confirm the transaction, right, with the user wallet. So we'll just make some logs as if. Right, so yes, you can still leave that, doesn't matter. Now we can make a function to check if the user is initialized. Let me click this here. I'll check if the user is initialized. Yeah, so we just check if the user is initialized and return it both really quickly. So now to add to do is going to be another long one. Which these three are going to like just be like the initialized user, right? Thing about this type of raw dogging is that when you have like a simple mistake, maybe because of another code, before you like figure it out, it's gonna take like a lot of time. Bro. What we're trying to do is to create an instruction, right? So Just like how I've done before. So yeah, let's also close that. I mean, it's the same process. The same process of getting the user PDA. That's the, I don't know if I spoke about this, but the user PDA is the, if you looked at the last video we worked on, right? The account of the account of the user on like their own wallet, right? That points to that contract address of the IDA, right? So this is like the account of, not the user main account, but like the account that the user is recognized with on the program address, right? And then the to do account PDA is maybe when you are creating a to do, like when you add it to do, it's going to like use the to do account PDA. So that specific to do you are adding is what we are is what we are like is what we are getting the PDA for, right? That specific to do as a PDA. If you're adding another to do, it's going to generate another to do, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it. Then the discriminator that points to the instruction on the program that we're talking to. Yeah, so that's pretty much what it does. Yeah, so let's just work on the next function. I think this is something we can copy from the previous step. This if Right, that was quick. If you observe that I stopped logging because it's taking a lot longer than I thought though. So next thing we want to do is to remove to do, and this should be like the last real long function that we have, right? Moving to do is pretty much starting with the same processes, right? I'm going to copy this. It's looking exactly like it's the exact thing we're going to do, right? It's looking like the exact thing we're going to do. So I'm copying the whole thing and I'm pasting it and removing to do. But what we're going to change is this is going to be. Does that mean we also made the same issue here? Yeah, but apart from that, it's like the same thing, right? Just know that you're going to change this function name to remove to do. I can close that up. The next thing I want to work on is to get user profile. Right, so I think why the emulator was stopping was because of like my battery. My battery was getting very low. I just plugged in. Right now, forget what to do. Want to So basically, in this function, what we're trying to do is to get all the to dos that this user have, right? So we'll first check if the wallet is null. Then if it is not null, we'll try to get the user profile. And then if the user profile is not null, then we can continue what we're trying to do. So we created a list that is going to be like interacted with from our front end, right? So what it does is to return this to do, right? Okay, I probably return to those, right? So what it does here is to return this list, right? But we created a simple algorithm that helps us to loop through every to do in the user profile, right? Let's check this user profile, right? So user profile returns blah 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 blah. Just returns a class of user profile, right? That has to do with authority to do, last to do, and to do count. So we're going to look through the whole look look through. We could also look through the to do count, but yeah, I think this works too. And then we're like decoding the data, and what we're doing is to do count, to do account PDA, get the to do account PDA of the exact to do, right? Then what we're going to do is try to get the information about that to do account PDA, right? Then we're going to await that result. And when we get the result, right? I mean, this is not necessary because this can even also be called result already, right? But then yeah, when we get the result, we're going to check if it is not null and the value is not null. Then we're going to like append it to this list, right? Yeah, let's also close that. So the next thing we want to work on is, let me close all of this. Next thing we want to work on is oh, get wallet balance, and that should not even that should just be like one line of code, right? But yeah, I want to implement it in a bogus way, so we have to check if the wallet is itself is not null. Let me see if it has been initialized, right? It has not been initialized, we return null there, right? So you also have to be aware that like this is not a dat class. What we're just trying to do is to ensure that like we're just trying to like go over, sorry, should we get balance? I'm just trying to go over how to interact with that on Solana is, right? And we might want to specify the commitment. I mean, what's the random commitment? It should be like a default commitment. Commitment or processed. If commitment is not specified, what does it fall back to? I think it should be blah 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 blah. Commitment or processed. I wish it was commitment or confirmed too. Alright, so while this is also not necessary, well yeah, next one I want to do is return the value of the balance divided by Lamport parcel. Now, if you watch this video from the beginning, you should already know by now what Lamport parcel is. For those that don't know, Lamport parcel is okay. So Lamport is like our way of interacting with. You should already know what Solana is, right? Solana is always on minutes, but for development, because sometimes you want to send a very minute amount of Solana, right? Imagine you have to compute how much gas fee it will be needed for a transaction, and you know gas fee is like quarter a cent, right? So you cannot start dividing one Solana by 1 billion, right? So what we use is lamports. So you can just say maybe 10,000 lamports is like the gas fee. Right? So one Solana is equal to 1 billion. That's 10 raised power 9 lamports. So that's why we're dividing it by lamport per so to like get the value in Solana, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it. So now if we run our code, which I'm going to do right now. And so glad it works, right? So let's check it out. Let's check out what we've built. Import from private key. And what it does is when you click on it, it shows compressed, show private key, impute. So there's an import button. Load wallet. Provided the load wallet. That's not it. Escape. Import from private key. So it's probably network. I'm not sure, but just want to bank on that as network. Let me start this up. Or do we do something wrong? It's not 64, it's not 32. Okay, the function is not. Let's try it again. Should have been. If it's not equal to 32, let's check that out. Right. Let's fucking go. Fail to load wallet from seed. I think that's from the previous error double. Alright. Yeah, so it has fetched our profile, right, and it has found the number of to dos that we have. That is an actual working app on Flutter. So because I'm using the same um I'm using the same program ID, right? Because I'm using the same program ID, it is like it was able to get that, right? So probably would not undo this in our UI properly, but at least you can see that it works. So this will return the profile has already been initialized. Yeah. So now it's fetching the to dos. So this could have been a lot shorter, apart from like the instruction part of things, right? If you are doing a production scale app, right, that instruction part is going to be like a service on its own. So instead of it to keep calling instruction every time, creating instructions and compiling messages and send and sign and send transaction, it's just going to be like one service that does everything together. So can you see? So I believe that I deleted the other. If you check here, where's our UI? I deleted the other thing from the UI, right? So I'm pretty much glad that it works, honestly. Right, so we can create it to do. Let's call it Flutter on Solana. Everybody's glad, bullish. Right, so for us currently, like there's like a constraint But one definitely, so there's no real constraint because like we can spend any amount of. Okay, I think there's actually a max constraint of how much things you can store on a PDA in Rust, but I've not really checked that out because even this function, the smart contract too is like open source, right? So let's just see that on soon. And so I'm gonna mark it as completed. What is it? Instruction did not serialize. Um, failed to add to the interesting. Failed to add to do because instruction did not serialize. Why is that? Says from the service. Implementation probably has an issue. It's not the whole. Oh, is this why? Arguments, not pass the arguments. I hope that's why. And there we have it. Alright, so we'll try to do that again. I'll try to add that on Sol again. Bullish. So I'd have tried to add an emoji, but you see how it is like returned from the blockchain. So it something on the blockchain. So maybe we need to do that one. So wallet address. User profile has not been initialized. Wow. Failed to add. So user profile has not been initialized. Meanwhile, user profile is equal to null. So it means the profile is null here. Interesting. That's what that does. Marking to the one as completed. User profile found one to those. Fetching wallet balance. Yeah, so I've marked it as completed. So why can't I add it to do? It's crazy. To do added successfully. Crazy. Nope. That's it, guys. You have to like make it more robust, right? But the good thing is that you can see how to do added, and let's try to check it on chain. So the um this is the transaction signature. Let's check it on SoulScan on DevNet, right? So we're gonna see something like instruction add to do as the program logs. Yeah, instruction add to do. So yeah, if you check the time in 58 seconds ago. So that's it for today's video, guys. In today's video, we've successfully been able to create a very simple to do app with Flutter on Solana.